All right, guys, I'm back on the Doyle vise build. I had a little bit of free time in my schedule. I took a hiatus on these for about a month. I have been using them, and I'm very happy with them. So the next step I want to do here, this is kind of two videos, but I'm going to just include it in one and probably just show one section, one part, because they're essentially the same. So the pipe jaws, these 60-degree V's, they come steel and serrated to dig into pipe. I want to remake those in copper. And then there's these other V jaws for holding like a disc shape. They go on the top here, and I want to make those also in copper. See how it goes. I don't know if it's going to hold up or not, but I actually had that material left over from project, so that luckily doesn't cost me anything other than the tool I had to buy to do these 60-degree profile. Figured I'll just do that all in the same video, but I'm just going to show the pipe jaws. So these, the top V jaws for holding discs, I've used these. If you go back and watch some of my shorts or on Instagram Reels, I tap these discs. They're 4-inch diameter, 1-inch thick. I put a 7/8 hole in there for a 1-inch 8 thread to the hole in the lathe, but I don't have a good setup to tap that. I started on the lathe, but you just don't have the clearance, so I held them in here, and I cinched them down with just the speeder handle, pulled it, put a little bit of pressure on it, and that held them. And you know how much force is on a 1-inch 8 thread of an 18-inch bar, and I'm pushing on that with a lot of force. So I was really happy with that. They did dig into the material, but for what I was doing, they're leveling feet for my saw. They're getting pain, it doesn't matter. But in the future, if that's a piece of brass or something, I'd rather those in copper. So, I could put copper covers on these, but that's always kind of a hassle. They usually pop off, and you're kind of fighting it. And luckily, I have this material in-house. I had this 3/8 by 1 1/4, which is essentially will fit in here. I had this left over from a project, so it's almost easy enough just to make them out of copper, and I can swap between the steel and the copper ones when I want. The one thing that these have, let's see here, is they have an undercut. So when they're stamped or they're finished, or however they're made, I think these are actually bar. They're probably stamped. There is a bevel on here, so these dig in very well. And I don't know how well the copper is going to do. I could probably hit them on the belt sander just to take that down, but we're going to see. Usually, I'm not going to be probably holding on to something really tight with the copper ones. It's mostly for doing a kind of assembly work, but I could also swap these out and just see where that takes me. So for the most part of this video, I'm going to show making the pipe jaws, just because it's essentially the same thing. And my plan is these are the 3D printed ones. So just to check them. And the thing was with these, I thought I'd make them a little taller, but I think there's going to be some clearance inside the vises. So if they get kind of rolled over or damaged, I don't think it's going to close all that well. So my idea is I'm just going to make them a little longer so I can actually grab smaller diameter rounds, solids, and pipe and tube and such. And my plan on this is to drill that center hole and then knock this material out on the roll-in saw. And ideally, I go to the mill and I just take 1 pass or 2 passes to clean it up. 2 or 3 passes, whatever. Instead of having to start from the top, work my way down. It's much better to have the center point of this 60-degree cutter not actually engage into anything, because it's not moving. It's just there's, and the copper's soft enough, but that's where you risk damaging those kind of specialty tools. So anyways, follow along, and hope you enjoy the video. Okay, here at the cold saw, so I have that blade for the soft materials like brass, copper, and aluminum on here, 150 tooth, and I got my setup with the blocks. I want these at 1 3/4, and this is a really good cut here, and it's pretty much a milled finish. And since these are just pipe jaws for an import vise, I don't need to go too crazy and square these up or anything. So very little tool pressure there, and you get a great cut out of that. And then just a quick deburr here. So keep my cart with me pretty much at all times, so I have a spot to put my, what I'm working on, and it's just real easy then. Got my dust collection, everything else is closed. So we're just going to come in here and just break these edges. I'll come back afterwards and probably chamfer them on the big belt sander. But for now, you know, just something to, so they register a little nicer. Right home about here, guys, just putting that hole in there. I'm actually just going to use a number 29 drill. That's a tap drill for a 832, a little over 1/8 inch. So you can see now this is going to be the V here. And I'm going to do this on center and then mill them down, because then I have a pretty accurate hold on this factory edge. Come in here and countersink these holes. It just makes it a little bit cleaner then. Obviously I need these to be flat when I go put them back in the mill. So I had another idea for these notching here. I figured, you know, I'm going to just run it with an annular cutter and calculate it in Fusion. So this, I'm just trying to get the bulk of the meat out of there, and then I'll probably just go in with a hacksaw or something and connect this material, because that's where the tip of the cutter is going to be anyway. So pretty simple here. All right, so I'm just going to kind of connect the dots here on this. So like I said, the center point of that cutter doesn't really cut, so it just kind of drags along the material. So I'm just going to kind of connect these. I have that's almost too coarse of a blade. I have another hacksaw right here that's got a finer pitch, so just a little easier to control. That's it. So now, ideally the tip of that cutter just floats in here. So on the surface plate here, this isn't that important, but I figured I'm just going to scribe these because that's the point. We want an 1/8 inch of flat there. So I keep one of my height gauges set up for doing that. So we'll come down and zero this. 125. So it's about as simple as it gets here. Let's see here, kind of hard. I have to do this left-handed now, because if I do it right-handed, it's going to get in the way of the camera here. So we're just going to scribe that. So I'll just do it on one. This is not that critical. So then I have just a reference, so I know when that line just starts to disappear. Right before it disappears, that's how I know I'm at my position. This is the cutter I'm going to run. That's a router bit. It's a big, here I'm going to bring it closer. I have to reset the camera. It's a 60-degree 2-inch wide, so that should do the trick. And this is the tooling I use. This is the Tormach tooling system. So I have one of their blocks here. I come over, break this loose, and then you flip it over. I don't know if that's a 1/2 inch shank in there. Oh, it is. Okay, so I don't have to take that ER20 collet out. You flip it over. Let's see here. And pull it out. Put it in, yeah, something like that. Well, that's going to be a problem. So actually never encountered that. So I have an ER20 wrench. No, I do not. It's a 16. I don't think the 32. Actually, that's weird. I don't actually have that. So I thought that would work. This is the wrench, but I can't get it on there for the ER20. So maybe Tormach screwed up there, because that's not an ER20. That's the ER. That must be for something else. Anyways, you set up the camera to film. You don't really know what's going to happen, and you watch the video. Oh, it's all edited perfect. But sometimes you encounter these problems, and it's being recorded. So I figured to show you guys. And I always have my nip pecks available, so these will work. You don't need these too tight. Just come in here, and this is cool. This is a one-way bearing. So to loosen it, put it over here, tighten it. It's on this side, and then that's for a 5/8 because the hard inch takes 5/8 tooling. And I probably will do a 1/2 inch one too eventually, just to have it. So there, that's not going anywhere. And then there's that cutter all set, ready to go. I got these lined up. I just kind of eyeball, sandwich them together here. Just kind of make sure they're seated. And I might try to put a clamp on those. I don't want these going anywhere. That copper is so gummy, but luckily it has such a good hold on the jaws because it's kind of like the reverse jaw setup with the copper jaws. Now the part's copper. So that is not going anywhere. And I think I'm going to throw a clamp on that too. All right, so I have a can twist, but I'm just going to run these. These are the Jason's Fireball Mantis clamps. These work really well. So let's see if it clears. Yeah, it's going to get close to that pad. I'm going to swap this out for a different one actually. Okay, so these are just same setup, just with the points and not the pad, or the pad with the bolt. So just give it a little extra support here. Okay, I'm happy with that. It kind of gets in the way here, but we should be good. So we're in center on the Y here. That looks like, and I'm going to leave the head locked, and I'm just going to bring up the knee here. So we got the V-blocks flipped over, and I'm going to deck down. I've already done the back side, or the other side. I'm doing these now. So taking off about 3/32. So we want, they're 2-inch. I want one in 13/16. I'm going to try that, see if it fits. If not, I can take off more, but we'll see how it goes here. At the Ameribraid belt sander, I got this equivalent to 220 grit. And I'm just going to come in here and take these burrs off. I might come back later and chamfer these, but for now, just kind of a general deburr here. All right, since I'm set up here already, I'm going to grind the end of these bolts down. So these are what secure those copper V-jaws. So it's metric M8. I had some a little long, and I don't want them sticking out too far. So I'm swapping over the actual hardware for these. I'll show you guys the bottom side of this with the vacuum and that water container. I got the last screw to put in here. Those are those M8s. So it came with kind of these like set screws with a nut on the end, so it's just stuck out. You know, you're going to hit yourself on it or just kind of get in the way, because now, you know, this can be used in this, it's most commonly here, but if you want to hold something like a round vertically, you know, right here is really nice. And then this area is much more low profile now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this with a piece of this 1-inch galvanized pipe. So let's just tighten these up. And then this one I've already set. And that's it. So these are good now, and you can see I already got the V pads up top done. So let me pull those out and just show you some configurations here. So this will go down to 3/8 of an inch, and it goes up to about 3.5, but then it starts to kind of eat into the tip of the V jaws. So I might have to radius those so they don't end up kind of getting all mushroomed over and they won't close then. That was kind of my concern. And what I ended up doing when I did my layout, you guys caught that, I did those numbers, the 1/8 inch flat on there after I machined the to size on the height. But you know what? These are V-jaws for a bench vise. It's still going to work just fine. So, and then here's a piece of that 1 1/4 that I use as a pipes. This is just material from this stand. So stuff I use pretty often. You can see that. That's a nice setup. And most of the time I'm working with, 1 1/4 round tube for handrail work. 1 inch for kind of 3/4 to 1 inch for shelving and stuff. But anyways, I'm pretty happy with that. So that holds, and it's not going to damage the work at all. Got these V pads done as well. These went pretty smooth. There wasn't too much going on with these. That was the same setup, so I didn't show any of that. But so now that feels real good. And then these can come off, and I have some other designs for tooling here. So I'm very happy with that. I still will probably put the steel jaws on occasionally when I need them, but they're just three screws to take off. And then if I want to, flip that over, it's real easy to work on this on its side. So if I have a tapped hole or something, and then I'll show you the this setup here. Let's say I had this. This is a piece of 5/8 stainless. So it clears the table just. I think it does. Does it clear? No. Okay. This could come forward, but just to give you guys an example here. So this can come down, and I guess I could pull that forward more, but either way, that's how that is. So I can hold on to a smaller piece vertically or a piece of tubing like that. Let's see how will it clear on this side. No, that's still actually just right at. Okay. Well, that is what it is. So, anyways, so we're pretty happy with that setup, and 3 sets of copper jaws per vise now, and that all went pretty quick. So, just about done with this project. Doyle pivot vise V jaws are done for holding round work in pipe and solid round or tubing, long ways horizontally, and then I did the copper V jaws up top for holding like disc shaped material, and we'll see how that goes. I might still, like mentioned, need to kind of do some fine tuning on these. Depends if they get kind of banged up. I'll radius the corners a little bit more, but for now it's on here, it's ready to go, and I can take these in and out and put those serrated jaws back in at any time if I want. So like I said, it's just almost easier and more convenient to have the solid copper instead of like the copper covers or something. And I swapped these out for button heads, ground them down so they fit real tight in there. So there's no, you're filing or something, you don't hit the file or hit your hand on anything like that. So, and I'm going to do a full video recap on this when it's all done, go over all the little details and the features. But what I've done recently is that I mounted the stand, and it is really stable. And I put a automotive scissor jack. I think it's like a 1.5 ton scissor jack underneath here. So all I do is break the hardware loose, the adjustment knobs, and get a ratchet or impact or a cordless ratchet or something on here, and I can raise this up and down, and it goes pretty good. It's not a headache at all, so it's kind of nice. But right now, this is set at 35, and this ends up being at 42, something like that, because these are 11 high, and I just like that setup. And then I upgraded to a set of ball locks from Jason. He calls them tacking bolts, Jason from Fireball Tool. I was using the Build Pro, but this is 5/8 and this is 5/8, and the ball lock didn't engage on the chamfer in the hole, and it was just these things kept moving around. So anytime I needed to use them, I had to go to the Build Pro Alpha, because I have ball locks for 5/8 to 12 millimeter for that, so I can lock it in there. But now these things, they hold and they come on and off real quick, and very happy with that. So that concludes this video on the copper V jaws for horizontal rounds and disc. And then the next thing I'm going to do to these is I'm going to rework the detents. So I've already messed with this one here. You can see how much play is in this. This one, what I did is, so it has a 1/4-20 thread on the back. This one's still kind of tight here. So what I did is I just machined a socketed cap screw, 1/4-20 socketed cap screw down. It's like 330 diameter on both these holes, and I just to get a nice fit on it, but it was too short, so it has a little play in there, but you can see how much tighter this one is already. So my plan is to do a tapered hole and machine a plug. But if I'm going to increase the hole diameter on this part, and I have to increase the hole diameter on the back. So that'll be for another video. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you next time.